Welcome to the Orange Hammer Podcast. My name is Corbett Storick. I've been a licensed general contractor for 8+ years, specializing in new construction, renovation, furniture building. I'm the son of an architect and an interior designer, and I've been surrounded in this industry since birth, watching all aspects from concept, design, build, punch list, and of course, all the problems that come up in between. In my time in Durham, North Carolina, I've noticed a significant gap in knowledge between homeowners who need work and the people who do the work. On this podcast, I hope to break down the process of homeownership from the perspective of both the homeowner and the contractor in an effort to help raise the knowledge of homeowners about their homes and the construction/renovation process. I hope you enjoy. If you're enjoying the Orange Hammer Podcast, or if you have a topic that you want covered, or have recently done a project, please contact the Orange Hammer Podcast. The Orange Hammer Podcast is on Instagram and Facebook. Please like and subscribe, share on whatever platform you're enjoying your podcast on. Also, check out our YouTube channel, The Orange Hammer. The Orange Hammer Podcast is proud to be brought to you by CRS Contracting LLC for all your construction and handyman needs, new buildings to renovations, furniture building, EV charger install, or even a TV mounted. You can call me, Corbett Storick. It'd be my pleasure to help you. You can find me on Instagram at CRS Contracting. WSDG, the Walter Storick Design Group, specialists in architectural and acoustical consulting. Check out WSDG.com. And Taylor Bragg, for all your artistic needs in all mediums. You can find her on Instagram at brag_about_art. That's brag, BRGG, with 2 G's. She's the fantastic artist behind the Orange Hammer logo, and she did my fantastic table painting of my podcasting table. All right, welcome everybody. Very special episode today. We've got 2 mortgage experts in the house. Kimberly and Catt, how are you doing this morning?
Super fabulous. How are you?
Are we still nervous?
Of course, a little.
It's okay. We'll get the nerves. We'll get the nerves out. So first, just thank you both for coming. I know this is like, we started with a random link up, and then it became like, hey, can I bring a friend who would also love to talk about this? I was like, the more the merrier. Why not? So now here we are, the amazing network, Facebook power, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So do you guys work together for the same company?
Yes.
Okay. And what company is that?
Fairway Independent Mortgage Corporation.
Fairway Independent Mortgage Corporation. That,
long.
y'all need an acronym.
Well, FIMC.
FIMC. Yeah, it's like I think of the Marvel movies with Shield before they have the shield, and he's like, "We're from the strategic blah 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 blah," and they're like, "We need a better name, dude."
Yeah. Well, there's a bunch of other companies with Fairway in it.
Right.
I literally just got a text from somebody asking if I was part of this other, and I'm like, no, it's not me.
You know, I got a call the other day. Somebody was like, "We're looking for the Christian Resource Center or Christian Resource Society," and I was like, my initial, this is CRS Contracting. I think you just didn't. They Googled CRS and then and he literally was like, he tried to tell me it was like my fault. He was like, well, you're going to get a lot of numbers for people looking for that because of the website. And I was like, and I just Googled real quick, and I was like, he just typed in CRS and clicked the first thing and found my phone number and thought it was the Christian Relief Service or whatever. So, Fairway, I mean, you've got a lot of, even not in the mortgage industry, there's probably a lot of people. Yes.
A lot of golf stuff.
Yeah. Okay. How often does that happen? How often do you get somebody calling up like, do you?
Never.
This is a golf company? No. Okay.
No, because I use my cell phone. So I have an office phone. We have office lines, but I don't even know where the phones are.
Do you still have legit offices, even like this post-COVID kind of world we're living in, where offices are borderline not really needed?
I do, because I have a branch.
Okay.
So I manage a branch, and I have 3 kids, 2 of which are homeschooled.
Okay.
So I have to leave.
Yes.
There's no way to work when you have children at home.
Are you doing the homeschooling?
No.
I was about to say, how do you exist? There's not enough hours in the day. Yes.
No, we had to close my husband's gym.
Okay.
For when COVID
Yeah,
happened.
yeah, absolutely.
And then we pulled the kids out, and so now he's their teacher.
Gotcha. Okay. Is his gym reopen?
No.
No.
No,
And
he's done.
That's not a COVID choice. That's like
No, that's
he just didn't want to
working
reopen it.
60 hours a week, breaking even.
Yeah.
Running yourself ragged.
Is he? I know this is not on topic of what we're talking about today, but like, is he? Does he do like personal training on the side, or is he just full time dad educator?
We
now?
have we're trying to homestead, so he's working on the homesteading on our property. So building fences, building our chicken coop, all that stuff. There's lots of work out there.
Yeah.
So stuff I don't want to do.
Planning on having your own eggs?
Yes, we're gonna have meat chickens and egg-laying chickens, and we want goats and cows.
Nice, very fantastic. Yeah, I grew up with. I didn't understand it honestly when I was a kid. 100% took it for granted, the eggs that we had. Just like I was like, why are they brown? The ones in the store are white.
I want the pretty white ones.
Why are they like some are huge and some are small? But like you get an entire, 18 plus years of eating those organic eggs. And then you start buying your own eggs and you're like, these do not taste the same.
No.
Like there's legit, you can taste the difference.
They don't have any flavor.
Yeah. What part of the world? Yeah, I'm assuming it's a lot of acreage that you guys have to do that.
35.
Kind of. 35. Wow. I thought my 11 was a lot. Okay. So you can't see any neighbors. You got like paradise out there.
No, we built in the middle of the trees,
the acreage.
And we've got like the back 20 is a timber farm. So the front
sweet.
15, that's like part of my retirement.
Okay.
So when those trees can be harvested, that'll go, you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket.
Right. Plus they'd have to grow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
what kind of wood?
We've got all kinds. We've got hardwoods. I don't know. The Forestry Service gave us a list. We've got a lot of longleaf pines too.
That's amazing. I had somebody when I bought my acreage, they were like, you just go up there right now and plant 1,000 Japanese maples and you'll be a millionaire when you're in 40 years. And I was like, yeah, I mean, I guess that is an option, but like, that's not super interesting to me.
Yeah.
And now I'm like thinking about I see, because I follow like.
You just leave it alone. Just do it and leave it alone.
Yeah. Well,
you don't have to do anything.
I want the field to build the house in, so I don't want to plant trees there. Yeah. But it was like, I just, I immediately was like, that's a terrible idea. And now every like 3 days, another Instagram video catches me of like somebody making a, 20-foot wide table out of a single slab of something with epoxy. And I'm like, maybe I made a mistake, or should I still plant them? But
speaking of tables with epoxy, again, off topic.
It's our podcast. Okay. Everything's on topic. This is epoxy.
Yeah. So I found these tables and I want one, but I wanted somebody local to make it. But it's
I know somebody local.
I know.
It's me.
So it's got the natural wood and then epoxy in the middle. Yeah. And they put Star Wars, they put the Millennium Falcon, and
I think I've seen this.
Yeah,
I think I've seen this one. Yeah.
Backyard something. Yeah, I'm gonna have to talk to you about that later.
It's the Star Wars like figurine part makes it unique, but no difficulty is added.
Right.
Yeah. You just you pour in a millimeter of resin to get it started, wait for that to dry, then start placing stuff and then fill it up. It's maybe a little hot glue gun, but definitely something that can happen. And also I happen to know a guy in like Wendell or whatever who has his own sawmill and like can get like some really nice like rough cut slabs of whatever width. We'll talk off there for sure. Yeah. Okay, so we'll just circle it back a little bit to mortgages, which was our main like topic for the day. My curiosity starts with y'all's start, because I don't know any like young kids who are like, I want to grow up to be an astronaut, and then their friend is like, I want to grow up and be a mortgage lender because that's fun and exciting. I haven't met that. I haven't seen that. So how do you get into finance / mortgages?
Well, I'll tell you. I was a bartender, and one of my guests who came in for lunch. I ran the day bar at the Carolina Ale House, the original one that closed. And he was like, "You're wasting your talents here. You need to come work with me." And I was like, "Okay, I'm tired of bartending." And it turns out all the skills from bartending translate very well to mortgage, because you have all these different people you're working with. You have to adapt your personality to kind of like mimic theirs.
Yeah,
just
you're
like you do
basically
in
in
your
sales.
Yeah, I mean, it is sales. Everything I've ever done is sales and commission. And you learn to keep all these different things compartmentalized in your brain. It's just been invaluable. And so I got my first assistant and got to the point where my business got so big I needed a second assistant. So I started looking in bars, and I met Kim.
Oh, so you like poached Kim?
I poached Kim.
Were you a bartender as well?
I was at the Carolina
At the Ale House?
in
Okay.
Lake Forest.
I'm sensing a pattern here.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, that's really I was looking for people in service industry.
Yeah.
Because first of all, you know how to hustle.
Yeah.
You're hungry because you're working commission. You're working for tips.
Basically.
You know.
Yeah.
You know, a person who can make a living off tips can make a living as a great living.
It's a
as a loan
resourceful
officer.
person.
Right.
Yeah.
And
I would assume a pay raise going from
Oh, yeah.
service industry to mortgage industry.
So we saw her, me and my other assistant saw her, and she was so engaging. We had lunch there, and then I think we saw you another time.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like the last day the Ale House was open when they shut everything down.
Oh, okay.
COVID.
So you're pretty new in the...
She's 2 years.
2 years.
Okay. To me, that's pretty new.
Well, but she's more seasoned than most.
Okay.
Because we do such high volume. So she has, 300 loans under her belt, whereas if she were a new loan officer, she might have like 15.
Okay.
But anyway, when they reopened, we went back to the Ale House. It had been however long. And Kim's like, "Hey, Kat, do you want da-da-da-da-da-da?" And remembered our names, what drink we had, what we ate. And I was like, I got to get this girl.
This is the one.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So I slipped her a note like a creep. I was like, "Here, read this after I leave."
It's like, is this girl hitting on me?
Yeah.
Oh, no, it's a job. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. Yeah.
And then you say what happened next. Like,
I reached out to her. I was like, I'm curious to learn more about it.
What did the note say? Do you remember?
Said, "Hey, Kim, hope you have it." It was Christmas time. It was like it was Christmas Eve, actually. "Let's talk after Christmas. I want to offer you a job." And it didn't really say, I don't think, what it was about.
Did you know that she was a mortgage officer or
at the time?
worked in that
I don't
world?
think so.
So it was literally just a vibe then.
Yeah.
Because like if you don't even know what she does and you get borderline a random / creepy note, again, borderline, everything's circumstantial.
right.
But you go, "Oh, I know this customer. They're very nice. There's a great vibe there. What's a phone call?" It's not like, a phone call's free. Why not? And here you are now.
Going back into restaurants post-COVID was also very different.
Yeah, I worked in the restaurant industry for one summer in between years of college. Nothing related to COVID at all. So I can simply only imagine, based on how much I hated that when it was like at its great peak, and I can only imagine being, because I'm a customer now, obviously, when I go out, and it's like everything's 8 to 10% shittier. Because everybody was like, "We need a raise," and everyone was like, "We're not going to give you a raise, so we're just going to hire shittier people who will work for the not correct amount of money." So like, service is just bad everywhere, unfortunately. There seems to not be a change. Like even at Jimmy John's, like the dude making the sandwich is just 8% shittier than it was. I don't know if everyone else is feeling that across the board, but like I'm feeling that at Home Depot. I'm feeling that at restaurants. I'm feeling that at just anybody who's working, what I would consider not a career type of job.
Yeah. And I think post-COVID, you have a huge amount of people that were really good at sales in that industry that did not go back after COVID because they realized they could make the same amount of money, if not more,
chilling at home
in
their boxers,
working remotely,
working on a laptop,
or doing something totally different that has stable hours that they can count on a paycheck for, And why should they go back to working for tips 12 hours a day dealing with, public nonsense?
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't the service industry, but my girlfriend basically did the exact same thing. She went from being improperly treated as a teacher. She's an educator. Mm-hmm. And now she works on a laptop that this company gave her for free, at a desk that the company paid for, in a chair the company paid for, in her apartment doing, she works for a SaaS company doing like customer relations or retention or whatever. She like helps people who have issues like logging into their account or whatever. Customer service. But it's just like, she's like, well, I make more and it's fun and they give us all these perks and there's like, once a week you spin a wheel and you get free Uber Eats lunch, and then like 4 times a year they pay to fly her to Austin where the company is for like company retreats and stuff, and like massive Christmas parties and like just all this like great fun stuff. And I'm just like, in my head, as the son of people who have owned their own business even before I was born, it all sounded so normal. I was like, that's how good companies operate. You take care of your people and they take care of you, and then the rest works itself out. And she was like, that's not the world. Nobody cares about their employees, or most companies, unfortunately, are not great at caring for their employees. And then you throw in some of the things you mentioned, like, service industry hours, notoriously not great. And even if you disagree, you have to at least admit that they are abnormal to the 9 to 5 work week and other businesses that you might need to go to, like if you got to go to the bank on your day off or whatever. So all of those factors, it doesn't surprise somebody like me, and it sounds like it doesn't surprise either one of you, that people were like, why would I go back to this? This isn't worth it. Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. So it sounds like also that you're much happier doing what you're doing now. Yeah.
And I'm definitely with a company that loves and takes care of their people.
Oh yeah. Our CEO, during COVID bought every single employee, and we're talking 10,000 people, a $2,000 exercise machine.
Wow.
And said, gyms are closed, I'm bringing the gym to you. He spent like $1 billion or something ridiculous. I don't know how much you do the math, but
that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
That's really cool.
And when, whenever anything happened, he would get on a call with everybody in the company and say, like, this is how we're working through this. This is what we're doing. We want your feedback, very, very accessible, very, very transparent.
So you came in after COVID. Did you get a retroactive exercise machine?
No, I did not.
That's not cool. I'm just kidding. Whoever your CEO is, I have a bone to pick. No.
I can lend you my rower. I really don't have anywhere for it right now.
I'll take that. Yeah.
I don't have anywhere to put an exercise machine in my house anyway.
Okay, so I have an interesting question from my previous guest yesterday, which both of us were very confused. When you want to... when he was detailing his home buying experience, he said that when he applied for a mortgage, they asked him what amount he wanted to get approved for.
Oh, brother.
Instead of, in my head, I thought that you simply give them your life on paper and they tell you what you can get approved for.
No. See, that's lazy loan officering.
Well, clearly, because it was, he's happy and in his house and has been for several years. So I don't even know who his loan officer was, and I try to only do positive shout outs on here. So I'm not going to drag Jane,
we don't want to know the
company
or the person.
But I'm more interested in in that type of process, because it didn't make any sense to me. Because if I want to choose to spend less than I get approved for, that's in my personal life. But what I am approved for in my head, who's not an educated loan officer, should be based on the numbers, not what I want.
I'll tell you, you base it off of comfort levels. What can you afford monthly? How much money do you have to spend? If we stay within your comfort levels with payment and your cash to close is comfortable, that's how we reverse engineer it to get to what price point you should be at. Because you can be qualified for a $500,000 house, but maybe you don't want a $2,500 a month payment. Maybe you only want to pay $16,000. So we have the data that we're working with which is your gross income, and your debts that show up on your credit report. And that's all we're looking at. So we're not even taking into account that you have to eat, you have to put gas in your car, that you're paying taxes, so you're losing to net income. So, yeah, we take gross numbers. So when a loan officer just pre-qualifies somebody based on just the numbers without digging into what the person needs.
Even what you just said doesn't seem like a whole lot of data to make
it's not
a big number or to make a big decision like that.
It's not. That's why a responsible loan officer has to ask lots of questions.
Okay.
What are your financial goals? What do you plan on doing? Are you going to live in this house for 3 years or 10? Or is this your forever home? That all determines how we structure the loan. Well, it should be. Okay, so you've heard, there's like 16,000, 17,000 real estate agents in the area.
Yeah.
And you can imagine how many of them are actually really good. Just
very small.
Yeah, a lot of them. Yeah, I mean,
Stacy Sloan's the best though at Weston Woodall.
I gotta meet her.
You do. She's been on the podcast, episode 5.
Well, I'm gonna listen. But there's gonna be loan officers are everywhere. Lenders are everywhere.
I mean, it's the same with contractors.
Right.
We're a dime a dozen, unfortunately, as well.
And so, I mean, like Kim, go over your process because she does the initial call with people to really dig in and get to know them. Like, what kind of things do you pick up and learn?
I just kind of really work with them intuitively because you have to really, I feel like, get to know someone to help them match you. But purchasing a home is an investment.
Yeah,
So
I've said on the podcast many times that other than like family or whatever, it's arguably the most important thing in your life. And
it is.
Arguably, unless you own like a jet or something, the most expensive thing you're going to buy.
It's the start of generational wealth for most people, most Americans. It's the only way you're going to become wealthy.
To like buy and then pass on your own. Yeah,
I mean, it's really that may be the only opportunity you have.
I have to kind of look at what they initially put in there. It'll ask them for a purchase price. Look at, kind of what's going on. Do you have kids? What's the age range? That all helps me kind of, okay, these are probably their goals. Let me call them and talk it through with them.
So it sounds similar to almost how a realtor might be trying to get to know somebody, because even though they care less about the monthly payment, they need very similar, like the Venn diagram of the bubbles is almost overlapping because of the information they need and you need is almost identical because they need that same info to design the house search parameters, just like you need that info to figure out, okay, well, I can't, take your entire $3,000 a month paycheck and put it into a $3,000 a month payment when you have a kid and a wife and a house and a car payment and whatever the things may be.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I just kind of ask them how long are you going to be in the home? How much do we have in the bank? And how much of that do you want to use? And
right.
That's why we say we're heavy on comfort levels, because what someone qualifies for and what they want for their monthly payment can be very far apart.
I would imagine, hopefully they would be. You would hope, again, this is just me talking who's not a mortgage person, but you would hope that people get approved for a lot and then make an intelligent decision to have, buy something about half of that.
Well, and that's part of the counseling process. And that, we spend a lot of time getting to know people, like Kim said, and we give them advice. I mean, the fact is, if somebody qualifies for something and we run it through our underwriting system and it goes, whether it's a good idea for them or a bad idea, if it goes, we can't say you can't do this.
It's not your decision.
It's not our decision.
Right. You can just...
So we have to give them the information and, impart the wisdom of, me having been in this business for 12 years. I've seen a lot, and I don't know of a single family of mine that went into foreclosure.
So you're not... I'm not trying to simplify what you do by any means, but you're almost like a trusted advisor.
Yeah,
you can't make the decision, but you can be like, I intelligently don't think you should spend all of that.
I big sister people all the time.
Yeah.
I'm like, hey, if you were my little brother, you were my little sister, for the younger people. But I mean, I do. I'm like, here's what I've learned. Here's where you're at. you make the decision that's right for you.
I mean, if you're employing somebody like you and not taking advantage of their knowledge, you're dumb. That's in life. If you have somebody older with knowledge, even if they're not older, if you have somebody with more experience in any regard, and you're not going to take their knowledge, you're going to pay for it later.
Right.
Do you deal, I guess directed to both of you, do you deal primarily with first-time home buyers, not first-time home buyers, or is it irrelevant? Is it just a mix of whoever needs a mortgage?
It's a good mix.
It's a mix.
I'm partial to the first-time home
We
buyers.
do. We love them because we want them to have an amazing experience, because we get a lot of second time, third time, they're like, oh my gosh, the last time was hell.
But last then it wasn't with you.
No.
Right.
No, because I can't deal with people not liking me.
How do you guys get paid as the mortgage provider?
We get paid a percentage of the loan amount.
Okay.
By the bank.
Okay.
So there are some.
So like I as a client don't pay you.
You don't
it's
pay
all
us.
auto taken out of the.
It's all built into the rate.
Okay.
And I mean, there's different models, but that's the usual.
Okay.
Is that it's built into the rate. So.
I figured it was something like that. I just simply had never asked and never known. Like I know the realtors, they get whatever that it's like 3 or 6%, depending on buy or sell or both.
It gets split among them.
So I was just curious. So the first time home buyer, you seek them out because you're trying to give them that first great experience. I would imagine that then translates really nicely to return customers.
Yeah, we're relationship builders, so most of our clients are repeat.
That's fantastic.
They always come back.
Lots of referrals.
Yeah.
It's word of mouth. I mean, I built my business on Facebook because I didn't really know what else to do. And I was, in the process of having kids, and, you don't have time to go out and network and do all that stuff.
Yeah, you're doing life.
Yeah. And I just, generally I'm a introverted extrovert. So
ditto. I feel that.
I'm the cat show when I'm out, but then I just want to be left alone and hide in the woods.
I feel you. Yeah. I feel
I'm
the same person. Yeah. Okay. Very cool. Very cool. So how, okay, I have another question here from, this was Micah's question. He is the male half of a interracial Durham-based couple. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if he felt this in his personal experience or if it was from friends he was talking about, but he seemed to notice a difference in like ease, approvals, and numbers when race was involved and interjected. So I know absolutely nothing about like what information you guys are like collecting from a future or potential mortgage person. Do you even inquire about their race? Does it come up when you do like a credit check?
I mean, they have to fill out, when they fill out online, they have to fill out demographic information, and they can choose not to, they can say, I choose not to say. But I mean, we have to collect their driver's license.
Okay. So the race is known.
It's known.
Okay.
But you're basically getting judged on credit score, credit history, and income versus debt.
Okay.
So there's no way, in my experience, to discriminate against someone based on any of the protected classes.
Okay.
Like it's,
so in order for, if what he's saying is true, there's a bigger conspiracy in credit checks.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know because I don't discriminate. I mean, there could be somebody out there that's like, gets a hard one. They see they're Hispanic and go, I'm not going to make the effort to try to make this work. There could be people that do that.
Okay. So it's not necessarily that the, if I understand what you're saying, it's not necessarily that the systems / institutions are spitting back different information. It's more that you just get a loan officer who might recognize that it will be more work / a bigger challenge. And they're just like, I don't want to deal with that. Mm-hmm. So I either will pass it off or don't do it. And then the don't do it turns into to that person, it
feeling
just turns
discriminated.
It turns
and
into
I mean
discrimination.
it is a form of discrimination. I don't do that. I don't see that among my people. Have you seen that?
I don't even look at the demographic information until we are about to disclose. So to me, it's non-relevant. We're looking at credit profile, and part of the reason the demographic information is asked for, and that's a federal regulation so that
they can monitor
they can monitor through the numbers loan officers that are using discriminatory practices. So that question is on that application as a form of protection. It's not there for a determination.
It's a very interesting perspective. I never thought about that. So like hypothetically, the federal government could be like, well, this loan officer only approves white people. Clearly that person is turning away every other person.
Data. They look at, are you maybe not doing certain neighborhoods, stuff like that. So that information is asked for protected classes to keep them protected.
Interesting.
Well, and there are people who, even though you're not supposed to, will say, well, I'm not doing any loans under $200,000 because they're a waste of my time. You can't actually do that.
That seems very strange. Could you elaborate on that a little bit?
Well, I mean, there are people who only want the higher paying, they go for the more higher paying loans.
Oh, so it's percentage based on them getting paid.
And so they may say, well, I just don't do loans under 200 because it's just not worth my time. You can't actually say that. You can't actually, there's a point where a loan becomes quote unquote high cost and it exceeds the allowable, limits for fees and stuff like that we actually can't do a mortgage on.
Oh, okay.
But you can't say to somebody like, oh, this loan's only going to be $100,000. I don't do those. You can't.
So you have to come up with a borderline unethical, borderline shady reason to not want to do it.
And people can pick up on that. That's what all this data that's being collected is for.
Right.
To find the shady practices.
Because in theory, or I don't know, is there a law? I'm actually unfamiliar, but like you have to just work with anybody and everybody who
you
calls
have to.
you. Yeah. Okay.
And because
it's not like that with realtors. I know plenty of realtors who are like, if it's not $1 million house, I'm just not really doing it because it's not worth my time, and I get this bigger commission, and I have that realtor over there who deals with the under 250,000 stuff, and that seems to be. Forget about gray area. That's white and black. It's normalized. It seems to be no issue at all with no rules or laws being broken. So
I can't speak for real estate, but I can say that, if let's say we get a couple and their credit's doable, but borderline, needs some zhuzhing, if you will. And
what's a borderline credit score?
Well, let's say it's like 601. We could probably
borderline.
We can do it, but it's not going to be the best deal for them. And we look at their, or let's say it's 579, and we have to be at 580.
Okay.
So 579, lower income, price point's probably not very high. Well, I could say you can't get a loan, you don't qualify. Or I could say, let's see what we can do to get your credit score up as high as possible in the fastest amount of time so that you get a better rate, the cost is lower to you, and let's talk about how we can help you start saving.
Okay, so let's jump into credit scores because I have friends with them all over the place, and I have friends all over the place in terms of how they're doing financially and in the world. So it's out of what, 850, 815?
I think 850 is the highest.
850.
It can go down somewhere in the threes.
It can go to the threes. Okay, so it's like 250 to
no, it's like 350 to 850 maybe. I don't know.
That's like the bottom is 350. You can't have a zero.
No, it's somewhere in the threes.
So when my only inputs of data are my own credit score, and the minimum I was required to ask when I signed people up for solar, when I was one of those dudes trying to recruit people to put solar in their house when I lived in California. And mine's in like the high 700s, but at that job, it was 500 or above. which seemed so low to me. But also at this time, this is like more than 8 years ago, California leading the solar charge and the federal government with a lot of like tax incentives and stuff like that. So I kind of assumed that there was a little bit of that being pumped in, like maybe it was really 600 and we can do with 5 with all of the incentives and stuff. So what's considered like a good credit score for you two when you're trying to qualify somebody?
I mean,
I know you can work and change other parameters, but like if somebody said my credit score is, what is the best number you can? I mean, obviously 850 is a great number.
I mean, I would say like anything over 740 is really the primo spot, wouldn't you? It gives you opportunity. Anything over 780, you're not going to see any benefit. Like 780 is kind of like if you're that or above, you get what you get.
Like the difference between 770 and 780 is
there is a difference.
Or,
but if you're above,
from 780 to 790,
right,
there's no difference there.
780 to 800.
Okay. Gotcha.
I mean, it just depends because it's the quality, the credit score versus the meat of the credit report. Because you could have somebody that has a beautiful credit report, but it's not been around long. No derogatories, no lates, but they're 620 or 630. But they have perfect credit. It's just new because credit's based largely on, I can't remember all the things, but it's debt to income, variety of credit, length of credit. So all of these things factor in. And so you could have somebody that has a 700 credit score, but they have a mortgage late and they have, and then they're just absolutely, they can't until their mortgage late's at least 12 months old.
Oh, wow.
It's people are like, well, what do I qualify for with this score? I don't know. I have to read your report. What if you have a judgment?
So the score is almost irrelevant compared to what you've done in the last 12 months.
Yeah. I mean, if you miss a payment or late payment, your score goes down like 30 points. Like that.
Whoa.
And if you have habitual lates, like those are worse for you than collections. I have a credit repair specialist you need to get on here.
I would love to have
She's
him on.
amazing.
Yeah, that's fantastic. We'll set that up afterwards for sure.
Yeah, I don't want to speak too much because
I understand that it's not your area of expertise, but at the same time, like it sounds like it's one of 4 or 5 major factors that you guys take into account. So
you have to see the whole credit profile, though. We've seen scores in the 790s, close to 800, but there's so much debt hanging out there that you can barely get them qualified.
Okay, so let's broaden it a little bit. So credit score, that's something you guys need, but almost arguably more important is the meat in the report, because the number you need, for lack of a better expression, you need both sides of the coin to get the full story.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because like, again, a high score, but I've missed stuff, or I've missed nothing but low score. Let's figure it out. So after that, then what are you getting from, this is like if, a potential person who's getting a mortgage. So you've got credit report, credit score. You need their income. Right. Okay. And then you need to know
this is where it gets real hairy.
Where like any debts they might have.
We have to ask Kim, what are some of the questions you ask?
Ask if there's any debts there are certain debts that will not populate to the credit report.
Like student loans?
No, student loans, come on. Child support, alimony, payment arrangements with the IRS is a big one.
That doesn't come up on a credit report.
It does not come up on your credit report, but when we go to run something called Fraud Guard, it'll pop up.
Okay.
And that could be the difference between, depending on your debt to income ratio, that could be the difference between qualifying for that loan and no longer qualifying.
And you're doing all of that like research and work without actually knowing if you're going to get them approved. Mm-hmm. So you guys, ladies, excuse me, you are working almost with no guarantee of getting
that is accurate.
Kind of like a realtor.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
We look for like a 30% pull through. So, of whatever, that's a good pull through of closed loans versus apps that come in. 30% is where you want to be. That's about average.
So you're just to understand what I think you just said, you're of the 100% that come in, you're getting 30% of it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Which seems low, but you're saying that's a great number.
No, it's a great number.
Okay.
And I mean, if you're a good LO, you're fostering these lost little children to get
to other people.
You're fostering them to get them where they need to be. So you can.
Okay.
You know,
okay.
we don't just. I mean, you can just say, go figure it out, or you can be a good person.
So you mentioned, which kind of led me into a more deep dive into. Oh, sorry. I'll ask this in a second, but to finish up, so you're asking about.
This chair just.
Oh, you're good. It just leans back.
Yeah, that was fun.
We got the modern bougie chairs here, apparently. Yep. Bougie coffee, bougie chairs, bougie Corb, I guess. We'll change the podcast name to Bougie Orange Hammer.
Oh, yeah.
That's probably actually a great name. So what, am I missing anything else on the list of like, absolutely required info that you need before you really are getting to work? So like, alimony and IRS payments, credit score, the meat of the report, the income, the debts.
Bankruptcy. Have you filed bankruptcy? Have you had a foreclosure, deed in lieu? Even anything. We dig and dig and dig because we want all the information up front. We want to make sure that there's no chance for anything to pop up, and then we send them out looking.
Have you ever just been like, sir, I need to know all of this stuff, and they just like purposely lie, hoping that you won't discover the thing that would obviously not approve them? And then they act surprised when you're like, well, you filed for bankruptcy a year ago. Did you think we wouldn't find out? And they're like, well, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, there are some people that we always find out. We're like parents. We always find out the truth. And I mean, like, we don't put loans through and then have them denied. It just doesn't happen.
No, you're doing all the work first before you waste that time.
There are a lot of people in this business that will just throw shit to the wall and hope it sticks.
Oh,
and,
no. That seems
kind
like
of
a waste
lazy.
of everybody's time.
But like I said, I have a perpetual need for people to like me. And if somebody doesn't like me or has a bad experience, it keeps me up at night. And
all right, well, I don't like you, so you're not going to sleep.
Dear.
No, I'm just kidding.
Dear. Why am I here?
I already like you when I saw the Jeep. I was like, what? New best friend. Okay.
Everybody knows my Jeep.
Yeah, I would imagine. That thing's awesome. Okay, so now you briefly mentioned it a couple of minutes ago, so I want to ask you about it again. What are some of the things that you would tell somebody to try to help them if you're like, hey, we want to work with you, but the numbers just really aren't good enough, or we could approve you, but only for an absurd mortgage, or only for an absurd interest, an absurd payment that we know you're not comfortable with. So you really need to, up your, let's say, your credit score. What are some of the things that you might?
We come up with a plan.
Okay.
We have people that we've been working to get mortgage ready for 12 months. Some of them.
Whoa.
So it can be very, I like to hold people's hands throughout the process.
You will come up with a year-plus long plan for somebody just to get them approved.
And I will check in with them every month. Where are we with saving? We'll check in with our credit repair person and say, hey, how are we looking on FICO? Are we seeing that improvement for this month that we're looking for? And help them come up with a savings plan to get them where they need to be. And
is this something that most mortgage companies do?
I don't think so. This is something that I started because I went from bartending obviously into the financial world, and I didn't get hired because I understood mortgages. I got hired because I'm good at talking to people and I relate well. And so learning the job and trying to go into this position, you don't really have anywhere to go. So everybody that was coming to me was credit challenged. And so in order for me to even try to make $1, I had to help these people. All the while going through, honestly, my own financial struggles with starting a job and not really I made $10,000 the first year. And then, having children, babies during this period, and my husband starting a new business and us having to actually file bankruptcy, which really makes people shocked when I tell people that, because they're like, I wouldn't tell anybody, but why? I have wisdom to impart. I went through all this crap. Like my life was a shit show, and I can share that with people.
Yeah, people hear that word though and are uneducated.
It really, yeah, we took advantage of what bankruptcy truly is.
And there's forms of bankruptcy. There's versions that even and I don't know, you might not even be intelligent enough about it to talk about the different. I don't know about all of them, but I know that there are several types of bankruptcy, and not all of them are we're just a broke loser. Some of them are just our tax incentives. Some of them are restructuring things. Like there's tons of things, like, but the word does have a legitimate negative connotation. So I understand why some random person was like, well, why are you saying that? And it's like, well, you got to look at it from all the angles. And from your angle, I think what you said is priceless. You are literally in the industry. You literally went through it. You have on hand first person knowledge of what this is like.
And we're not judging. I'm not judging. And I feel like we're not judgmental at like,
our
in the
entire
least.
goal is to help people and educate them, because I think that it's important for people, especially first time home buyers, especially people who are credit challenged, people who have that lower income that need those smaller loans. It helps them. It helps their family. It helps them build generational wealth. It increases their overall value.
People aren't taught any of this stuff.
No, that's why I started this podcast.
Right. And the whole point of sharing mistakes is to help people prevent that in their own lives. If I kept all my secrets and how successful I am to myself, that would be the most terrible thing I could do, because everything that I've done, all the mistakes I've made are helpful. You know, you fail forward.
Yeah.
If you don't fail, you're not moving.
It's the same thing with me in construction. You know, you frame a wall badly, then you learn from it, that you do it better the next time.
Nobody ever becomes successful because they're good at it. You become successful because you fail at it.
Yeah.
And you keep going.
And you work at it. Yeah. No, that's very, very true. Inspirational words here.
Thanks.
Yeah.
We were built for climbing. We were not built to like make all this money and retire. Like, as a species, we have to keep going.
No, I mean, I was built to sit on a couch, but maybe you were built to climb. Yeah, I don't know about that. No, I'm just kidding. My body was designed to climb to the couch. No, I'm just kidding.
My favorite pastime is napping, so it's fine. I get that.
Yeah, my favorite pastime is Netflix. Yeah.
I just want to nap. That's all I want in my life is nap time.
Well, you have 35 acres. You could just set up hammock hooks everywhere.
We have hammocks.
Yeah, I went to this house in where was it? It was in Merida. Yeah, it was in Merida, Mexico, and I was very confused by just like how it was structured and everything. And I was like, what is with this giant room? He had this huge screened-in room below his house, and I was like, what is this weird room? It has like 5 pillars on one side and 5 pillars on the other side, and they have like hooks where I would imagine a hanging plant would go. And he was like, that's the siesta room. And he opened a closet, and there were just like 8 folded hammocks, and he just like hooked them up real quick, and this giant room became a hammock room, and we sat there for like 5 hours listening to the rain.
This in my life.
Was amazing. Well, I know someone who can build this for you.
We need a siesta room.
Yeah. You need this in your office. Post lunch hammock siesta.
I need it on my property. Yep.
I saw that, and I was just like, so every 4 feet in my house, I'm just going to put a hook in the wall. People are going to be like, what are these for? I'll be like, just wait. It's hammock time. Just whip them out, hang them wherever you want. As like, this is laundry room. No, it's a hammock room now.
We have a napping couch. We have in our office. We have a lounge.
Specifically a napping couch?
I mean,
like
you can
can't
sit
have a
on
meeting
it.
there?
You can have a meeting there.
Okay.
We let people have meetings there, but we also, like, if you need to take a nap, it's there. And we've got fluffy pillows and soft blankets. And
in your office?
Yeah.
Hey, I'm not judging.
I'm just saying a power nap in the afternoon from about 2 to 2:45 can make or break you.
Yeah. Well, the lunch has settled.
Yeah.
Taking a nap is seen as noble in other cultures and productive.
What cultures?
I believe it's Japan.
You believe, so you don't actually know.
I believe. I have not
just
researched
dropped a bomb
the
and
Spanish.
didn't. Yeah.
I saw something the other day.
The Spanish?
In Spain.
In Spain, they
take
close
naps?
everything for like an hour a day.
They
for nap
close
time.
from like 2 to 4.
No
Yeah,
shit.
other
Siesta.
cultures have
That's some
I
real
siesta.
shit,
like
man.
the sound of that. Yeah. Okay.
That's why I promote, and even my boss knows. I was like, when he comes, I'm like, don't mind the napping couch.
Don't mind. Hey, if the numbers are good,
Right, he cannot complain. So
So, circling back from the napping couch, which we should talk about after, which is great. I love naps. I love couches. Yeah, I'm going to need the brand of that. No, just kidding. So I like to talk about, because we've mentioned it a few times, the first time home buyer. And also you just mentioned like, I'm not talking specifically to people who are going through a bankruptcy, but you just talked about like you've lived it. You have this wealth of knowledge that you're trying to share, that you enjoy sharing with people, and it seems like it's both paying the bills and fulfilling a bit of a passion that you both share of just helping and sharing. And I feel like we kind of share that as well, which is kind of this whole realm of the podcast. So speaking now to my one younger listener. No, just kidding. To the younger listeners out there, like, it's so obvious really far after the fact when they've made a mistake, when the 18-year-old kid buys the really expensive, nice car and he can't afford the payment. And then you meet him at 27 and it's like, well, that screwed you up. And now he drives the crappy car with the responsible payment, but the damage has been done.
mm-hmm.
So if we could part wisdom to some younger people who maybe at 18 and 19 don't really think about credit, mortgages, generational wealth, buying a home, but trust me, they will think about all these things in the future. What advice could we give to them other than just a general responsibility being taught?
I mean, I think that if they have an opportunity to take any kind of financial class in
Mm-hmm.
school, they should take it. But it's important to understand credit and how it works and to use credit as a tool. And so we try to teach people how to use their credit as a tool instead of using it, I mean, you want it for emergencies, but ideally you have cash for emergencies. Use your credit as a tool.
What do you mean by that
So
specifically?
to build your score, because you can't Dave Ramsey through life anymore. You have to have a credit score. I mean, Dave Ramsey's great, and it's great to have no debt, but you still have to have a score. And so what I normally tell people, especially if they don't have any credit, is to get two secured credit cards or two different revolving lines of credit, and to use one for gas and one for groceries once a month, and then pay it off.
Somebody told me the exact same thing when I was 18.
Yeah.
So I got an Amazon credit card and used it just to buy like one thing a month
Mm-hmm.
and paid it off in full. And I didn't even really understand what credit was. And then I went to go buy a pickup truck.
And they're like,
And
oh,
they
your
were like,
credit's
what's your
great.
credit score? And I was like, I zero. Like, I don't know. And they're like, no, it has to be something or another. And I was like, I don't know what you're like. And then they looked it up and they're like, you have an 812. And I was like, is that good?
Sweet.
And they were like, yeah, that's really good. How? And I was like, I don't even know what you're talking about. Like, give me the truck. Yeah. Yeah. So that's a really simple one that
Really
a lot of people
simple,
can do. Just
if
pay it in full.
Yeah, or I mean, you can leave like a $5 or $10 balance, and that sometimes boosts your score too. It's weird. When creditors offer to raise your limit,
Do it.
do it. Never let your cards get over 10%. I mean, 30% is okay, but 10% is ideal. To just always keep it at a 10% level usage.
Oh, okay.
So in other
okay,
words, people
okay.
who go and max out their cards every month and pay it are not going to have as good a score as somebody who just keeps it low.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
That seems strange to me. So the person who's like, I just spend $5,000 a month on my credit card, I pay it off in full every month.
It doesn't mean their credit's going to be bad, but it's not as beneficial because what credit's being judged on is, your behavior, like throughout the process.
Oh, okay. So it's much more of a long term.
Yeah, because
Okay.
your score changes every month as you spend.
But yet, as you said, you miss one loan payment and you lose 30 points.
Yeah.
So they only let you build it up with long-term stuff, but they'll cut you down with short-term stuff.
Yeah.
That's fun. Seems like the institution's really out to help us.
It's really
not
great. What do you think, Kim? What are some good things?
just probably for younger people, if we're talking about 18 to 25, don't max out your cards for a trip. Think about how long it's going to take you to pay that back with interest. Is your job really that stable? Is it worth having the best car out there so you can impress all of your friends when 10 years from now you might not talk to any of them and they don't even remember what kind of car you had, much less your name? Like, think about those. You got to think about the long-term plan of it. But secured credit cards are definitely a good way, but really keeping the usage down.
It really is that simple. Like, just don't
overextend yourself.
Don't think of credit cards as money.
Right. They're not at all.
No, I mean, you're paying usually, especially if it's a new credit card, 20 some % interest. And if you're just paying the minimum, you end up paying for whatever you bought 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
So stupid.
I've never understood people who don't pay off the credit card, because then to me like you just said, it's very much more expensive because of the interest. It's like, if you want to use a credit card and then pay it in full, that's the same as buying that thing in cash. The credit card company is hoping that you don't pay it off because they're a business. They're not out to help us.
No.
Yeah. MasterCard wants you to not pay the bill and charge you the interest.
They want you to take that trip with your friends and spend $5,000 because that wasn't in your account and you put it all in your credit card.
Absolutely. Yeah. They want that. So I get, don't believe that they're out to help. They are not. They're out to get you 100%.
We get people who come to us and they have lots and lots of debt. And sometimes we can do like cash out refis and consolidate their debt. So if they have a lot of equity in their house, they can roll all of their debt into the mortgage. So they're taking, 20%, 19%, 16% interest on all these cards, rolling it into the mortgage. They end up saving, their mortgage payment goes up, but they're saving like $1,000+ a month. And they'll be like, no, I'm doing this over 30 years now. This doesn't make any sense. You could take what you were spending and put it towards your mortgage as extra, pay your mortgage off much faster. And if that's the logic, like, you're paying 26% interest on this credit card and you're taking it down to right now 7%. Why on earth would you keep that credit card and just, keep paying the minimum?
It's a lot harder for people just in life to think about the long term. Yeah. Because it's like, it's the same in my industry. It's really hard for people to give a crap about upgrading the water heater they don't see. And nothing's going to change from the day before we swap it to the day after we swap it. Literally, nothing will change. They won't see anything. They won't feel a difference, but their bill will be lower for the next 10 years of that water heater. It's really hard to make that as appealing as like something new and shiny, and it's I feel like you come into that roadblock in your industry a lot, because mortgages are really long-term things. And some people don't even understand that the rates aren't even always locked in. You get like 10 years or whatever. Like if you're doing a 10 over 30, for example, of like that locked in 10-year rate. And then that 11th year, the rate goes up and you didn't even remember it. And you're just like completely screwed because you didn't refi or whatever it may have been. And it's really difficult to make people think about the long term. But we're in that industry,
That's why we educate.
Yeah.
And we'll explain something 17 times till somebody understands. We're going to take the time. Yeah. Kim is the best, because I'll hear her and she's just saying the same thing
over
and she's just changing it slightly. And she's so sweet and her voice is so sweet. And then, they get a cookie when they understand. She's like, "Oh, I'm so glad." They get the Kim cookie where she's just, praising them.
For you. Okay, now let's do this.
Now let's go.
Now let's move on to the next thing.
It took my brother 4 times to explain to me why I should get a mortgage instead of buying my house. Took him 4 times. Well, I was like, I've got the money. Just buy the house. He was like, no, don't do that. Stop.
Well, I feel like for a lot of millennials, that's becoming real forefront because of rents rising, and they are only going to get more. So it's, don't wait until you have to be out of your rental and you want to move in 3 months to get your credit in order, to contact a loan officer. Let them. Sometimes it takes time.
Yeah, and also people are I know that a lot of the younger generation don't believe that the times have changed in the context of it is no longer only the possibility to buy a house with 20% down. That is no longer like the only requirement. And a lot of people think that because they don't know that there are government programs, state programs, simply just other options based on your life, your income, whatever, who you're buying a home with. I mean, there's like so many other factors, but there are a lot of people who are like, oh, I don't have 20% down. I'm not looking for a home. It's like, wait a minute, dude. Who said that? Like you're living in the 50s. That's not the world anymore. Like I have a friend who bought a home with 3% down with some like, ex-con primo package or whatever, something that helped him work out because he was an ex-con, but he's changed his life around completely. He runs a trucking company, It was a great dude, and he wanted to buy a home because he was smart enough to realize that I could pay this for rent or I could pay this for a mortgage.
We can do 3% for ex-cons or anybody who's a first-time buyer.
Only ex-cons who do 3%?
No. Not only.
The ex-con special, 3%.
First time. And there are loan programs out there that you can do 0% down.
0%, really?
And
but that's got to be not ideal. 0%. I mean, that can't be ideal. Your payment's going to be tough.
No. Not if your loan officer is
you.
Me. Looking at your comfort levels and what your payment should be. But I mean, so your payment for every $10,000 you go up or down, you're saving roughly with interest rates right now about $65. So
a payment a month?
A month.
Okay.
And if you go up 10 grand, it's going to be 65 higher. So I mean, it's the loan amount and percentage down doesn't affect you profoundly. The difference between 3 and 5% is not going to affect your payment in any kind of profound way. So what I try to do is get people to, if they have money, let's use this to pay off this $500 a month payment you have on this personal loan. So we're going to put less down, but you're going to save $500 here. So you can afford more house here. We look at all that stuff.
Okay. So I guess it took the podcast to really come around to the fact that there is no one answer.
No,
Everybody's so unique, both in what they have and what they want. And you also have a unique combination of mortgage programs that you could provide to somebody. So there's just too many variables to give the answer is blah. Mm-hmm. Like it's so circumstantial to everybody, kind of like me designing someone's kitchen. Like there's no one kitchen. There's your kitchen.
And people probably think what we do is pretty simple, but it's not. There's so much work that goes into it.
Yeah, honestly, this has educated me a little bit too, because I thought it was a little simpler.
No, and it's so much knowledge you have to have. You have to know what the hell you're doing, or you can really screw things up.
Well, it's confusing to, I mean, hell, I'm in this industry, and it was confusing to me. Like when you have things, what's it called? Like rocket mortgage? Or any of those, I'm sure that's the bane of your freaking existence. But for somebody who doesn't really know what's going on, you see an ad for Rocket Mortgage and then you go online, you give some very minimal information and you get an answer back. Now, you and I now know that answer is not actually real. It's not actually approval. That's basically a marketing tool to get you to further give them information and sign up and then get to somebody who is probably less experienced and less passionate than you, who wouldn't work for Rocket Mortgage if they had the passion you have, one like me would assume. So it can be confusing, though, to John and Jane Doe, who see that commercial and they're like, oh, well, we got approved for $2 million. So let's go house hunting.
This happens all the time. And they're like, well, they approved me for this. Well, Did they ask you any of the questions
based
we're
on
asking?
what was the approval?
Did they talk to you at all? No, they just sent it over. And then when I get loan estimates and quotes from other lenders and I see all the mistakes, or I see the fees that they're charging, or that they're not taking the time to even calculate the escrows appropriately, or transfer taxes, or anything. And I'm like, that's just lazy. You're comparing me. I'm going to give you an exact number.
Like this, you could take,
and you could take it all the way to closing. What I give you, and it's going to be off usually by about $500 because I overestimate slightly. Or you can take this person who gave you some bullshit and didn't even take the time.
And then you're going to have a problem later on.
And then you're going to say, but I like this one better. Well, fine, go with that one. But you're not going to get that because 2 days down the line, they're going to say, oh, I forgot, I had to recalculate this. And then, oh my gosh, well, we have to add this. And then all of a sudden.
It's a bait and switch. It doesn't actually exist.
And it's still, these people, they're assholes. They're creeps that don't care. And I guess I just want people to know that we really freaking care.
Well, and hopefully the listeners are being educated like me in real time on this particular one, because the interest level was above 100%, but the knowledge for me was very low when it comes to mortgages. I have my own experience where I had the ability to put 20% down, so I did it. And I also was dealing with a bank that doesn't really do mortgages, but is my like family's long-term bank that has been dealing with, my grandfather and his father and my dad and my brother. And like, we all do everything with them. And so we just have a different level of personal service. And then, oh, by the way, I happened to like get a rate from a competitor to be like, hey, you're 0.5% high, drop down. And they did. So it was just like, is a different relationship than maybe like the standard first-time home buyer who doesn't have like a relationship with a bank, or like parents who do this for a living or whatever. So, but like, if you're just a regular person who calls that or goes online to that like Rocket Mortgage thing, like you're screwed. You're screwed, but also you're being sold that brick isn't solid. It's paper thin. Like, it's not actually real. You can't build. You're going to then build further foundational information on that Rocket Mortgage number, and that number is not actually accurate.
No, and a lot of times they're charging you a huge amount of discount points to get a lower interest rate that might not be the best fit.
Right.
That you could take that money that you were spending to buy down and maybe buy out your PMI. Put less down, buy out the PMI, have a lower payment.
Because a person might only be asked, how much money do you make a year? What are you comfortable paying a month? And there's so many other factors.
No, I could have somebody who has $50,000 and they want to buy a $300,000 house. I can do so much with that money. They want their payment here. I can get your payment there.
Right.
I can buy out the MI. I can pay off this credit card. Your payment's under what you wanted. Your cash to close is right within there, and you have money left over. I mean, there's so many. I get all nerdy about it. It's fun.
That's the point. That's why we get nerdy. Get nerdier. Let's go. Star Wars it up.
You can be really creative.
How do the rebels get a mortgage?
I'm just telling you that I have the force.
I mean, how did they build the Death Star without a mortgage? I mean, you need a loan for that project. Slave labor, but even still, where'd they get the materials?
I don't know.
They need a loan. There had to be a loan. Yeah.
What were you going to say, Kim?
I don't know. No. It's gone. It's gone. I lost it.
You gotta catch it with us, like otherwise it's gone.
Let me ask you though,
like
if you provide a mortgage to the dark side who builds the Death Star, are you a bad person or are you just a loan officer?
I mean, like I said, if you're qualified, I can't really say no to you. So, I mean, generally speaking, I would say more rebels and Jedi probably come to me because they know.
But you're not going to turn away the war criminals.
I can't. I actually can't. So, I mean, I would get, I could lose my license. So
you're just going to Swiss bank it. We're open to everybody. Yeah. Aha! Got her.
This is great.
Okay, I have one more question that I can think of, which is, do you prefer your client to escrow their taxes or not? Or do you care?
So the bank, the one with the actual money, because that's not us, sees when you don't escrow as a higher risk. So you could see a rate change. They like to know that the house is insured and that the taxes are paid.
Because I did not escrow my taxes.
Well, I mean, it could affect your payment by about an eighth. Sometimes not at all. It just depends on where rates are. We could have a whole conversation about rates and how weird they are and how
You say we could, like we're not about to.
Oh, we're still going? Okay.
Well, no, I cut the recording 20 minutes ago. No, of course we're still going. Yeah. Don't be fooled by the screensaver on my computer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But anyway, I forgot what I see. If you
No, you were saying that rates are insane, and you were like, we could have a conversation about rates.
About
let's
just
have a
the way that
conversation about rates.
About the way we even pick a rate.
No, but specifically, I was asking about escrow taxes.
Yeah,
and
so
that it could change your rate. You're saying
your rate because you're considered a higher risk. Manufactured homes are considered higher risk, so your insurance is going to be higher. Your interest rate is going to be higher. Now.
I'm a home builder. Manufactured homes are shitty. This is a fact. I'm sorry. I'm not judging a person who lives in one. I'm just telling you it's an inferior product.
It is an inferior product.
These are facts. I'm not.
But I mean, I live in Franklin County, North Carolina, where I think 60% of the houses are manufactured.
I'm not judging anybody who lives in that home. There's just a fact that SUVs are bigger than cars. Like this is just a factual statement.
I know. I lived in my fifth wheel for 2 years while we built.
Yeah.
So
again, it's not a judgment thing. It's just like, tile is nicer than fiberglass. Yeah. Like these are just statements.
Well, and I mean, and it's difficult because some people will be like, oh, well, I found this 2,500 square foot double wide. And in my price point, I can't find a stick built house in my price point. What are you going to do? And if you do find one, it's like 1,100 square feet and you got 4 kids. What are you going to do?
Yeah. I mean, again, there's not a judgment coming from me. I'm just like, there's no conversation ever where you could convince me that it is a better product or even an equal product. Like I'm not judging you based on what you can afford and where you live. My life's not perfect. I can't judge anybody else's.
It's just based on materials.
Yeah. Trailers don't have 2x4s. They're 1.5 by 3. Like they're just not. It's
and
thinner,
that's why
it's
the
cheaper,
bank
smaller.
sees them as a higher liability and a higher risk. Obviously, they're more susceptible to storm damage.
Yeah.
So your homeowner's insurance is higher. If it gets damaged, you can't just go to Home Depot and buy a replacement door. You have to get special.
So who decided that because I don't pay a higher monthly payment, which would be my taxes, and I pay my taxes once a year, that's more risk? Is that the IRS?
You know the golden rule. He who holds the gold makes the rules.
Oh, yeah. I know that
so
one.
The banks decided.
So that's a federal regulation?
I mean, it's part of Fannie and Freddie.
Yeah. If you defaulted somehow on the taxes, that bill would take priority over the first mortgage lien because there would be a tax lien. That's where that train of thought comes from.
Oh, but if I escrow it, then
they're paying it for you and they know it's paid. Does that make sense?
Okay.
So they see that as riskier.
In my head, I was like, how do I get a lower monthly payment? I'm like, well, don't pay the taxes. My bill was like cut in half or whatever. And I was like, oh, I have this great monthly payment. And then, I got to pay taxes.
Still going to pay them either way.
Yeah, you got to pay the taxes at the end of the year.
But things can happen where life happens and people don't have that huge chunk of money when that bill comes, when you pay it annually.
Yeah. Obviously, I plan and I put that away knowing, but I just have my mortgage on auto pay. And I was like, I can't afford to have that much of an auto pay every month, but I can plan for the end of the year. I don't know, what is it, $2,500 in taxes? It's not terrible. I bought before the insane bubble in the triangle. Mm-hmm. So this house now, which even the taxes, without me doing anything, I got a letter that the tax value went up $85,000. But I only have $120,000 loan on this house. It was pretty cheap 8 years ago. But things were drastically different. It's like you guys probably saw such an insane where everybody else was shut down in COVID. You were like, well, for some reason, people are buying and selling houses twice as much, and people are still moving here. So we're just going back to work.
Nobody could have predicted that. Like, I thought my career was over when COVID happened. I was like, oh, well.
And I'm assuming it was your best years yet.
Best years of my life.
Yeah.
Like, as far as business goes. Now we're back to kind of like pre-COVID, which is still good.
Right.
But it was insane.
Just to circle back and actually get an answer from your two perspectives. Do you care if someone wants or does not want to escrow the taxes?
No.
No. Okay. No.
Makes absolutely
you make
no
an adult
difference.
decision. Anyway, you have to put at least 20% down if you don't want to escrow. Otherwise, you have to. All the government loans, you have to. VA, so you don't have a choice.
That I didn't know. So I only had even the option because I put 20% down.
You can't just choose not to. You have to meet criteria.
Okay, because I was not informed that I had the decision because of the 20%. I simply got an email one day that said, are you escrowing your taxes, yes or no? And I was like, no, I guess. I think I called my brother, he trades stocks and bonds. I was like, you're the financial person in the family. What do I do? And he basically was like, it doesn't matter. Pick one.
Yeah.
And you're going to have to pay it. Like, it's not like it's free. The taxes are the same. There's no like interest on the tax every year, I guess.
It's just, my mom, she's 83, 84, 83. Anyway, she, hates escrowing because she doesn't want the bank to be getting the interest off that money that she could be, that's a lot of the old school thought is like, I don't want them to have my money.
Yeah, that's why I didn't buy the house in cash.
Yeah.
Because my brother was like, why are you giving that money to the bank?
Right.
You could still invest it and make money off that money.
Exactly.
I was like, well, when you say it like that, it took him 4 times, as I mentioned earlier. But the 4th time I was like, oh, yeah, I guess that money could make money instead of it just being a home. And I still have the home. He was like, yes, you got it.
Well, let's say you put a 10% down payment or 20% down payment. I mean, you're making a higher yield on that than almost any other investment because you get your credit, your tax credit for the interest you've paid, which can be about what's it capped at? I can't remember, 6 or 8,000 or whatever it's capped at. You're not going to see a return on $40,000 like that anywhere else.
No.
Per year.
No. The stock market will get you what, 4% if you're having a great year.
Yeah. I mean, unless you are doing hedge funds that are, 14 to 17%, but you're still getting more on real estate. You're not going to see a return on any other investment the way you do on real estate.
Yeah. Also, real estate's real. And I don't mean that like it's tangible, like you can see it.
Yeah.
Like that money market fund. Again, my life's not perfect. I'm not judging anybody, but like that's numbers on a screen. If like we go to the Stone Age tomorrow, those numbers go away. My house is real. Mm-hmm. So like, there's definitely something to be said for that for sure. Okay. The last thing that I've got is the, loan package. At least this is just from my personal experience. I had what they call a 10 over 30. So they like made my, they like fixed my rate for 10 years as they explained it to me, the ARM. And then they were like at year 11, it could go, up to 11% or it could go down, but it never goes down. So my brother was like, year 8, year 9 or whatever, which I did. He was like, you should refinance and get into a fixed plan, which I did. I went from the 10 over 30 to a 15-year fixed at the same percentage with like, I went from, $620 a month to $850 a month, and I pay $900. So my mortgage will get paid, a couple years earlier or whatever. Is that like a standard thing in this world? Do you help with people at that point as well, or like once they have that first mortgage, are you then like not really involved in like the refinancing part of it?
Oh no, we want to build relationships.
Okay.
We don't just build loans, we build relationships. We want to get you in your first house. When you grow and have children and go to that next house, we want you to call us when you need to refinance.
So you're doing the full. You're attempting to. It's almost like the loan is irrelevant. You're trying to get a customer.
Hashtag your lender for life.
Mm-hmm.
Lender for life.
That's me. I'm your lender for life.
Lender for life.
It's full Monty. People call us.
We do all the things.
We do all of it. Yeah.
Okay. The last thing I wanted to ask you is, do you deal at all with the loan that becomes a mortgage, like a new construction loan that turns into a mortgage when the house is built?
Hell no.
Hell no. Okay. And is that...
We'll refinance you out of that.
Yes, we'll refinance you out of that. The reason for this is number one, we're actually not offering them right now. But number two, I went through the construction perm process myself, and it was so incredibly awful that I don't want to go through that with anybody else, because at the end of it, I hated the guy I was working with. I hated the bank, and it wasn't mine because Fairway doesn't do it. So otherwise I would have gone with Fairway and it would have been great. But personally, it was so traumatic that I don't want to go through that with people.
I've only dealt with it once, and Jeremy Stallings, who's actually been on the podcast a couple of episodes, we talked about it a little bit. He hired me to build his home for him, and him and his wife needed to get a construction loan that then day one of getting that CO became a mortgage, and nothing but positive, like everything was fine. You know, at various stages of construction, we'd call Lisa, the head of the bank or whatever. It was, I think, a local, not like a Bank of America. It was more like a North Carolina local. I think it was state employees. I'm actually not 100% sure. And they'd send an appraiser to look at the house and be like, you've done this amount. Here's a check for $70,000 or whatever. And
no, I think it probably is a great experience for a lot of people, but I did it during COVID, number one. I did it on a large parcel of land. So there was only one bank in the entire country that was doing construction to perm. And so I was either going to have to pay off my land loan and parcel out, which was going to cost a ton of money, or I could go with this bank. Mm-hmm. And I chose to go with this bank. Hindsight, I would have parceled out and gone with somebody else, somebody local, because I'm sure that experience is tremendous when you're working with somebody who, is good at communicator and in your, where you live. That's something I can't stress enough, that you need to work with people who live in your community, because they have reputations. They have skin in the game. They have to see you in the grocery store. Your kids go to the same schools. If you're working with somebody in Michigan or in California, they don't understand the nuances of North Carolina.
No, that's true.
They don't live in your area. They don't know what's going on on a local level. They don't understand what you're going through. And you work with these internet lenders. I don't want to disparage anyone, but they just don't have what we have. No, they don't personalize the experience. We're not transactional.
Yeah. That's kind of, in less intelligent words, because you're better at it than me. That's kind of my sales pitch also, is like, yeah, you could hire Baker Roofing and you can pay the price that also pays for their office overhead and their heating bill, or you can get the exact same roof from local Corbett Storic, and my overhead is, you two are sitting in my office. It's my third bedroom. I don't have overhead. So, I say Baker Roofing live on the air because I actually don't have issues with Baker Roofing. They're just an example. They've done gutters for me. I have no negative connotations with them, but any larger company has more overhead. This is just a fact, and that's going to be built into the price they give you. They have to keep the lights on. Their free estimate's not free. When you get a company that's like, we're going to come out and give you a free estimate, that dude got paid that day. And how do you think he got paid? The people who follow through on those free estimates are paying a little bit extra money for all the ones that didn't get paid, the job didn't come from. So there is definitely something to be said for, keeping it local, keeping it, I don't know, are you guys technically a small business or a medium business?
I mean, we work for a national company, but we're like my branch is run how we want to run it.
So it's your brand, like almost like a franchise kind of thing?
It's more complicated than that. I'm like a sales manager underneath an area manager.
Okay.
So
Give me an example for another, like stupefy it for me. Like
multi-level marketing.
Okay, so you're not Hertz corporate, you're Hertz at RDU.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're Fairway of the Triangle in Wake Forest.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay.
Right behind Culver's. You can see my Jeep.
Right behind Culver's. Look for the Jeep.
If you ever want to come to our office and see our napping couch.
Yeah, the napping couch. I'm waiting for the invite to this napping.
Yeah,
Is it long enough for me?
Maybe.
See, that's a problem. Yeah, most couches are not.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you're 6'5", everything's too small.
Yeah.
Especially Jeeps.
Mm.
Yeah, I tried to buy one. It was a joke. The dude was looking at me like, so is this going to be your daily driver? And I was like, this is going to be my not driving again after this test drive. Like, I was like, this is so small. Like, how do people are so in love with these? Not anybody my size. I need to Shaquille O'Neal it where they buy like, you see that video where he took the 4-door and he made it into a 1-door? Yeah. Ugh, the Shaq Jeep. Yeah, you're laughing. It's true.
It is.
It's true. Yeah,
he went. Shaq Jeep.
He went to the West Coast Customs people who used to have that Pimp My Ride show, and they literally bought a 4-door Jeep, and then they bought 2 extra doors, and they took them all off and they put them together, and they took out the spine, and it's just a 4-door Jeep.
I used to love
seats.
that show.
Oh, I
Somebody
did too.
would come to them and be like, "This, and I just need it to work so I can get to work every day." And they're like, "Let's put a fish tank."
Yeah. Exhibit. Oh my God, Exhibit. It's funny. You almost forget that like he had a legitimate successful rap career, but like Exhibit is just the Pimp My Ride guy. Like that's his. He'll go down. His gravestone will be like Pimp My Ride guy. No, everyone will forget about his music.
Well, I mean, Ice-T. I mean, plays
oh
a
my
cop
God.
on TV.
Or what about family-friendly movie Ice Cube? Do we all forget NWA?
Oh my gosh!
Like,
I know.
wait a minute.
And Snoop. I mean,
Snoop.
they all.
I feel like Snoop did not change.
No,
he
he
was
didn't
like, I just
change.
got older, and Martha Stewart's hilarious, so pay me my money. I love that. I think he's great. You know.
Yeah, their cooking show was fantastic. I loved that.
Did you watch Snoop and Kevin Hart commentate over the Olympics?
No, but I wish I had now.
Okay. It's on YouTube.
Okay, we're gonna go watch that.
Go
on the
find
napping
that.
couch this afternoon.
Because it's literally just Snoop with a huge blunt in his hand and Kevin Hart with a solo cup, and they're just at a desk, and you see the Olympics that like happened the day before on a screen behind them, and they're just commentating as if they were like they're like, oh, look at this motherfucker. Like it's so funny. It is so sorry. I just cursed. We'll bleep that out.
We said some swears. It's fine.
It is so. We'll just hit the explicit button when I upload this, and I don't want to have to bleep anything out. It's easier. It's more
Maybe
natural.
people will listen for the swears.
Hopefully,
Maybe.
we swore a lot. Listen to the whole episode.
Yeah,
No,
you can
I'm
put
just-
that
yeah.
in the.
the tag. I'll
Yeah.
put that in the description.
Lots
yeah.
of swears in
Lots of
this
swears.
Lots of swears and good information, and we like Marvel and Star Wars. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Well, that's a perfect way to end it, I think.
Thanks for having us.
You are very welcome. Thanks for coming. Can you shout out your company name again and how to get in contact?
The best way, well, it's Fairway Independent Mortgage Corporation. I have the office in Wake Forest. You can reach me at 919-622-1212. And that's Catt Fleetwood.
Is there a web presence?
I have a Facebook page, and I have a link for the application and stuff like that online that you can put on there. But, I mean, if you just look up Catt Fleetwood on Facebook, you can find us. And you'll see my Jeep.
Or NC Mortgage Cat
Yeah.
Instagram.
NC Mortgage Cat.
Yeah, I got to change that, though, because now I'm licensed in like 11 states.
So don't
So
change it. Just make more pages for each state.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah,
that
it's really.
makes my
But
head
you can
wanna
just link them all
explode.
together and
Just-
not deal with them.
Will you do that for me? Because I just
No.
can't.
No.
I can't even.
But I can give you somebody who will do that.
Like,
I'm
know I got it.
I'm the master of like I've got a guy.
uh-huh.
Because that's all a general contractor is. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm a trained carpenter, and like I put in the kitchen cabinets on the house I'm working on, and I put in all the interior doors because I still enjoy it. But really, a general contractor is like, I know everybody for everything, and I have that guy who will do that. So just call me, and I have that guy. So that's what we do. We babysit people. Yeah. And on that note, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.